More than half of all companies globally are family-owned or operated. Family businesses contribute 70% of the world's GDP and account for 65% of jobs. Their voices are important. Their stories must be told. Brought to you by the award-winning publication, Tharawat magazine. This is the Family Business Voice with your host, Ramia El-Agami.
On this episode of the Family Business Voice, we're joined by Gonzalve Bich, CEO and third-generation owner of BIC, to talk about the visionary spirit that inspired the company's evolution and how digitalization represents a transformative opportunity for BIC and other family firms. Since 2018, Gonzalve has been the CEO of his family business, which his grandfather Marcel Bich founded in 1945. He is guiding the company through a period of unprecedented change using the same precepts of empowerment and family cohesion that made it a global brand in the first place. Enjoy this episode with Gonzalve. Gonzalve, we're delighted to have you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Lovely to be here. Thanks, Ramia.
So I wanted to start out with a question that I actually always ask at the beginning of these interviews. What is your earliest memory of the family business?
There's two memories I think that jump out in my memory. The first one is being just before the Christmas break. I must have been 6 or 7 years old, and my grandfather is thanking each of the team members as they leave the plant on their Christmas break, and I was there shaking the hand of each of the team members as they exited the plant. That's one. And then the other one, which I'm way too young to actually remember, but I have a great picture of it, is I must be maybe 1.5. And I'm sitting on my dad's lap, and he's showing me one of our iconic BIC products that we still manufacture and sell around the world every day. And my face is just a pure joy. And it's a great memory of connection with my dad as well.
Fantastic. And so what did every generation contribute in its turn to build this business into what it is today, which is quite an astounding size and present all over the world?
I love the way you're framing that, which it really is about contributing to, right? Yes, you have a founder. He's iconic. He had a vision. We serve it today. We bring it to life with a relevance to the current times, because my grandfather, when he started the business, there was definitely no smartphone. There was no email, there was no fax. When he started the business, there was no telex either. But so my grandfather had a vision for bringing writing to everyone, a democratization of the writing through product. And the ball pen was an amazing way of doing that. We acquired the patent from Laszlo Biro. We innovate on the product itself, and we create the crystal pen, which today is still sold billions and billions around the world every year. So we developed that, we go global, and that was one of the fundamental, I'm not going to say differences, but markers of the man. He was very early visionary, that we had to be broad in our thinking. And so when you look at the timelines of when we go to different big markets, the US, Brazil, Mexico, different countries of Africa, we're only in the 60s. Where many companies waited until the 80s or the 90s to do their international expansion. And that means that we have very, very loyal following of the brand around the world in ways that are deep at the generational level. So he did that. And then later on, he saw an opportunity to create disposable lighters. And we did that by acquiring a small little company in France in the early 70s, and then developing it to the position that we have today as the branded global #1 in disposable lighters around the world. And then we did another adventure in shaving, starting with a small joint venture in Greece. So he oversaw all of that. And then his children joined the business over time. He had 11 children, as you know. And they all served the business in one capacity or another and added their story to it, some only for a few years, many for their entire careers, including my dad, but also Francois, who was at the beginning of the lighter and did all the lighter journey up until just a few years ago. And he's still, my sage when it comes to anything lighter. And I call him quite frequently to get his perspective. Marie, who was our general counsel for 3 decades, and many, many others have contributed. And now at my generation, I lead the business, but I have cousins who work in the business and have different responsibilities. And they too are adding to this story. And I look forward to the 4th generation joining us soon. It's very gratifying to me that people choose to join the organization and make a career of it. Maybe not their whole career, but they want to bring something to the story. They want to write maybe a chapter, maybe just a line, but they want to be part of the story. And that's so important as a family.
Your role in the company has been manifold, right? So you went through different stages. When did the CEO position become an actual discussion for you? Because I imagine that to be quite a big deal in a family like yours and in a business like yours. First of all, the business for its sheer size, it's a big responsibility being the CEO of a company this size.
I'm very lucky to operate in service of and be a member of a very, very supportive family. And one of the things that we do with all of our family members, whether they choose to work in the business or do other things, we always support their ambition, no matter what that is. And I have, cousins who do all sorts of different stuff. The CEO discussion, we had it many times. So unofficially, it was almost the driver in the background. And it wasn't what motivated me to get to where I am. What motivated me to get to where I am is to serve the business, to be a great team member and to lead people in the organization, but also to uphold the legacy and to continue to build on the story. Something we're fiercely proud of is our entrepreneurial spirit. And so you're constantly trying to innovate and create value and find opportunities for the business.
Do you attribute the ability of BIC to reinvent itself, or to actually go through transformation, significant transformation time and time again? Do you feel that's contributed to the DNA and that's made, enabled today's success as well to a certain extent?
Absolutely. And you use the word trust, and I combine that with the word responsibility. And back then, yeah, that's absolutely how it happened. There was a gentleman by the name of Pajot. And so my grandfather said, go to Brazil and go forth and make it multiply. And that's what he did. He wasn't controlling every advertising from Paris. He said to the guy, I trust you. You understand my vision for the brand, for the product. You're going to stay true to the ethos of what we're trying to do. It didn't work every single time. We have tons of opportunities for learning where we had to pull out, go back in, like every company does. But he had great trust and he gave all the accountability to those local managers. And today, we still give a tremendous amount of responsibility and accountability at the local level to execute. The brand is global, and so there has to be a consistency and an adherence to it. But when you look at the way we go to market, the way the advertising is done, the way even we price certain things, it varies because it's very local. What we've been able to develop over 75 years, if you go in France, people understand that BIC is a French brand. But if you go to the US, they'll tell you 500 BIC Drive. It's an American company. And you go to Mexico and it's no sabe fallar, does not fail, which is the brand slogan there. They'll know that as a Mexican company and so on and so on and so on and so forth. And that's been one of the ingredients to success over the many, many decades.
Tell us a little bit more about the guiding principles of the transformation plan that you had for BIC and sort of what the factors were that contributed to your feeling that some more significant changes were required.
Change for the sake of change makes no sense, but change to achieve new things and to go to new heights is required. And when you embrace that, life just becomes a little bit easier. And it's not easy because, by nature, change can be scary, change can be difficult. But when we embrace that, we all grow collectively. And we recognized as an organization that there were some things that we needed to rewire. A little bit how we worked, quite a bit how we were organized. And that was to achieve different goals. So when we reframed our 3 core categories into new addressable markets, that meant that we were going to interact with consumers in a very different way. And one of the things that I'm absolutely convinced of was a need to go back to a fierce consumer centricity. We had not lost sight of the consumer, but we had other lenses through which we were seeing the world. And in order to readdress our consumers and connect the brand with them in different ways, we had to become fiercely consumer centric. And two examples that come to mind. The first is our body mark range of temporary tattoo markers. Not something you necessarily would have expected from BIC a few years ago, but we saw an opportunity. We understood that consumers saw our brand as relevant, saw our brand as capable of delivering the quality that the product requires, because it's something that goes on your skin. And we've always had that irreverent, fun type of personality in ourselves and in the brand. And so it works. And then the second one is the product that we launched at the end of last year in the US, our new Easy Reach lighter. Right? We've been making lighters for 40 years. Over 1.5 billion of them a year go out with our brand on them, and consumers love them. But we realized that they wanted a different usage to it. And so we created the mini wand so that you can light lighters. It keeps the flame away from the fingers or your hand, still with all the quality of the BIC lighter. And we've had a great reception. And I think those are two good proof points of you can build on strength. You can shore up weakness, that's fine, but it's sometimes better to build on your strengths.
You've been talking about the need for, integrating technology, customer centricity, and having a data-driven organization for a while. I think this is very important advice for family businesses around the world, because I know that you also believe in the fact that family-owned companies are very important contributors to the economies everywhere in the world. And I think like one of the big pitfalls isn't going to be COVID for them this century, but it's going to be this digitalization and this sort of like fourth industrial revolution that we're seeing, and all the technology that we should and can assimilate here. Talk to us a little bit more about your mindset regarding this, and like how are you making this a reality for BIC?
There's macro trends at every generation, at every decade. Pick a time frame and you're going to find them. Digitalization, it's not new, but to your point, COVID has massively accelerated. In some ways for good, in others at a personal level, I'm sometimes a bit concerned. Like we were seeing that a bit before as well. Right? The rise of adult coloring, to give you an example, 5-7 years ago, surprised a lot of people. And there is that need for digital detox or disconnect, or however you want to term it, to find another space. And as a society, I think we're all going to struggle with how much do I want technology in my life? What is its role? How much does it bring? Fighting it, totally, I think is a complete waste of time. But it's about finding where is the most value in interaction. And one of the things that we recognized was it's not about digital or analog writing, for example. There is that intersection, and we were thrilled to find Rocketbook, the company that we acquired at the end of last year, which is the first step in our digital writing journey, where we seek to create even more value for all the users around the world, making their life simpler and more joyful in many different ways. And Rocketbook's been a tremendous first step. We talked about body mark a second ago. One of the key pillars of our human expression transformation, moving away from quote unquote writing instruments into that ability to create and find joy, is coloring, right? So one of the mega trends you see today is people want to express themselves. Instagram, TikTok, and all that is a great example, but so many other more physical manifestations of that exist at all ages. And so we want to empower that. And so whether you do that through drawing or writing poetry or writing love notes on Post-it, whatever it is you want to do, we want to be part of that conversation and dialogue and empower you through really high quality products. So digital is definitely one of those things I would say to family business leaders, our managers. There's incredible value to be found. Each one has to unlock their intersection with it and carve out their niche. But it's an evolution. This is going to take us a long time. I don't know if we'll ever find the end of it.
do you have any particular sort of like wish to have a very specific kind of an impact in your generation on the story that is BIC? Because presumably you'd like it to continue, of course, beyond you. Like you guys have this multi-generational outlook as well. So without like going into specific plans like over decades to come, what do you feel like is sort of like your greatest wish of sort of like your contribution or your generation's contribution to your family legacy story?
Well, my generation is 40 people, so it's much bigger than me. I and we definitely want the brand to last. It has to stand the test of time. And it evolves in its relationship with consumers, but always based on that trustful relationship where no matter whether it's the first time you pick up one of our products or it's the last time you pick up one of our products before you buy the next one, you should always be satisfied. And it's one of the reasons we focus on the lifetime value of the product to make sure that every single interaction of our product, now on a crystal pen, you got 3,000 meters of writing, that can last a few years. I want to make sure that the first time you write, I love you, is as good as the last time you write, I love you. That's really fundamental. At a more broad level, I'm particularly proud of a lot of the commitments we've made and the time that we invest in education. At a corporate level, we have a foundation. We have our Writing the Future Together commitments, one of which is to improve the learning conditions of 250 million school children by 2025. I'm convinced we're going to get there. It's going to take a lot of work. It has taken a lot of work. It's going to continue to take a lot of work, but we're going to get there. And then we'll go from there. And at a personal level, I serve as another organization called Enactus, which is a not-for-profit that focuses on social entrepreneur business for good, or passion with purpose, if you will. And I love that we allow not only me to work with them, but a lot of our team members give to that. So education is something that's very near and dear personally to my heart and to the family's heart, the business's heart. But I'm sure there's, as COVID has demonstrated, many, many opportunities for business to have positive impact at a societal level or at a community level. And when we're successful, we can do that even more.
Thank you so much, Gonzalve. We look forward to seeing the progress of BIC over the decades to come, hopefully.
Thanks, Ramia.
Thank you for listening to the Family Business Voice. Subscribe to our channels now on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, or Spotify to be notified of our weekly episodes.